Hello and welcome to Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks, the dive bars of Seattle. We are a podcast that visits dive bars, historic taverns, and old drinking establishments. We are setting out to document those bars that have a seedy backstory and interesting history behind them. But best of all, we are actually recording these episodes live at the bar itself. In other words, we're not in one of our garages, surrounded by bikes, yard tools, and random boxes, recording this while huddled around some fold-out card table.
Yard tools?
Nope, we are recording live on location. For this episode, we are at the Duchess Tavern. This place has quite the interesting backstory behind it, but before we get into all that, I'd like to introduce the crew. Of course, the producer here, Bob, running the mix board.
Hey now.
And then to my immediate right here, Lou Dog. How you doing, Lou?
I'm doing well. I'd like to also mention that awesome wave of surf music that we rode in on is none other than Satan's Pilgrims.
Indeed.
Northwest finest.
Indeed. And then, of course, Jeremy. How you doing, Jeremy?
Good. And then we still got to decide on a nickname. I'm working on it. I'll get back to you guys.
I thought you were Jay Dizzle, no?
Jay Feezy.
You don't like that?
Jay Deezy? Jay Dizzle?
J-Dog?
Yeah.
J Dog?
Well,
I like
J-Dog?
That'll work.
Well, Sweet Lou is kind of...
Sweet Lou.
Sweet Lou, but you were also Lou Dog at one point, right? Wasn't that a kind of a quasi nickname? So.
Every
let's not-
Lou is a Sweet Lou or a
Let's not
Lou
forget,
Dog.
hosting us today, Stash Panda.
Ooh.
The Stash Panda.
That's right.
Womp, womp, womp.
So yeah, we're here at the Duchess Tavern. The building the Duchess inhabits was built in 1926, with the Duchess Tavern opening here as a business in 1934, soon after the repeal of Prohibition. The tavern managed to keep a fairly low-key profile and quiet existence during its first 14 years, but that streak of good behavior came to an abrupt end in 1948 when the owner of the Duchess was arrested along with 16 other Seattle bar owners during a gambling sweep by the King County Sheriff's Department. The gambling in question was punch boards. Do you guys know what punch boards are?
No, is that the pimp arcade machine?
Or is that like the
Where you-
pre-pull tab?
It's like a cousin of the pull tab. So punch boards started out in the late 1800s, and originally they were actual boards, small little boards with
Oh, it's
shallow
like a
holes.
giant advent calendar, right?
Kinda. Yeah, they had shallow holes
Or an
drilled in
angry bingo card.
them. An angry bingo card. There you go. Kind of an angry bingo card, but it started out as an actual board, shallow holes drilled in them, and then they put numbers or prizes, and then they would cover the openings with foil or some other kind of, sealant. And then the gambler would punch through and find out what numbers were below. When this story took place in the 40s, by that point they were no longer using boards. It was more like kind of small paper trays, but it was the same idea. You would punch through these foil openings to find out what you were underneath. Now it basically is scratch tickets kind of takes over that, right? You don't need to punch through anything. You can just... So I don't even think punch boards are around anymore. But they were a thing back then, and...
Let's bring them back. I know a guy at the Washington State Lottery.
Yeah?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm down.
Well, it's interesting, because if you go on eBay, there's actually old punch boards you can buy, and I guess there's a collector market for old punch boards. They look pretty cool. They're very colorful, and the design on them...
I'm kind of getting Price is Right vibes, like the game where you punch through, grab your thing, but I'm not sure, but that's kind of what I'm envisioning.
Yeah.
We'll put a picture of a punch board up on the gram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the story of punch boards, and so during the series of punch board raids, a total of 15 men and 1 woman were arrested in this sweep. The name of the woman arrested was Hattie Gruber, who happened to be the owner of the Duchess here. So she was the one woman that was arrested. Other than that one incident, not a lot is known about Hattie Gruber. I tried to look up more information about her, but apparently that was her 15 minutes of fame. Was
So
this
was
punch board
the
sweep.
early nickname of this joint Hattie's Punch?
It should have been. Hattie's Hat. I wondered about that. If there's any connection between Hattie's Hat and Hattie Gruber, I don't know. By the way, the Blue Moon Tavern was also one of the taverns popped that night during the punch board sweep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Season 1, Episode 4.
Nice.
As it turned out, this was all part of an even larger investigation in which it was revealed that all this gambling was allowed to happen because so many Seattle police officers were on the take. As a result, several cops lost their jobs from the Wallingford precinct, because apparently that's where most of them were stationed at the time. Since the punchboard scandal, the bar has remained fairly well behaved with only a few minor infractions over the years.
The Wallingford police, on the other hand,
Yeah.
still notoriously on the take.
Or so they say. In 63, the bar lost its license for 7 days because the owner was intoxicated in his own bar. That's a weird rule, isn't it?
Because that never happens these days.
Yeah, as long as he's not driving, what's the problem?
Yeah.
I think it was one of those old blue laws that were on the books, and it's probably no longer enforced. But what a weird rule. Like, who cares if you own the bar and you happen to be drinking inside
Well,
of it?
if you're checking IDs and they're too blurry for you to read the date, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole
right?
thing?
It's a whole thing.
You think that's what it was? In 1979, the Duchess lost its license for another 7 days because they were caught selling beer to minors.
Oh, hell.
Which for a
Because
beer...
the IDs were too blurry.
And this is a student bar,
Right
too,
next
so
to the
you
UW.
know,
It's a college bar. I was just
Yeah.
going to say that. I mean, just think how many fake IDs have been used over the years for this. So the fact that they only popped once, that's a pretty good track record, in my opinion.
McLovin from San Fernando.
organ donor from Alaska.
Now, during the early 70s, the Duchess was one of the U District bars and taverns that Ted Bundy frequented in order to search for victims. And according to the bartender I spoke to earlier, he may have even picked up one of his victims here. I guess the detectives, part of the Ted Bundy task force, came here and was questioning, the owner and stuff when all this was going on because they think he picked up one of his victims here. So kind of a dark chapter.
Fun fact, my first apartment in Seattle was in the U District,
Yeah?
and our landlord informed us that in the unit above,
Ted Bundy
lived
there?
one
or
of,
picked
no,
up
one,
of
of,
his
one of the
victims?
murders
One
was
of the murder
upstairs.
victims? Oh, really?
And it was like, don't tell the girls, because it was me and Gus and two girls, and it was like, don't tell them, it'll freak them out.
Did you guys bring a Ouija board up there or anything?
Yeah, no, we should have.
Next to Bundy, probably the most shocking thing to happen at the Duchess took place in the early 80s. On July 2nd, 1984, two friends were hanging out at the bar and decided to shoot a game of pool. One of their names was Patrick Thornton. A stranger sitting next to them named Louise Guzman asked if he could join, and that meant they needed a fourth player, at which point one of the bartenders working here said, I'll join in, so they had 4 people, went to go play a game of pool. By all accounts, it was a relaxed and friendly game with no trash talk, no loud words, no arguing, nothing. Nobody took the game too seriously, and there was never any hostility between anybody. It was just a normal game of pool. It'd be like if the 4 of us started shooting a game of pool, lots of standing around, bullshitting, and, oh, is it my turn? Okay, and, it's just a friendly game of pool.
Sure.
Until the stabbings.
Well, there's no
And
stabbings.
there's the 5th time the bar was shut down.
So they played 2 games, with Thornton and his friend winning both games. But just like the game itself, things ended on a really mellow note, and after the game, Guzman left the bar on a bicycle and rode off into the night. The others returned to the bar for a new round of beers. 10 minutes later, Guzman returned to the bar and without saying a single word, raised a gun and fired 1 shot into Thornton's back.
Oh.
He then calmly walked out. At first, everyone in the bar was caught so off guard that most people initially thought it was some kind of a prank and that he had used, a blank. But then they saw the blood and everyone rushed to help him. The bartender called 911. The police quickly arrived and immediately began patrolling the nearby neighborhood. A few minutes later, Guzman was apprehended by one of the patrolmen after he emerged from a nearby yard. After apprehending Guzman, they returned him back to the bar, and everyone there was able to confirm that, he was the guy that came in and made the shot. Thornton died a day later in the hospital as a result of his injuries. It was a really puzzling murder as there was no apparent motive. Guzman was not high or drunk. This is known from toxicology reports, and the bartender even testified that he had only served Guzman 1 beer the entire night. He was deemed sane to go on trial, and again, there was never any disagreements over this pool game they played. None at all. So it was never.
But maybe there was some money involved.
No, there was no money. It was just like
Friendly game.
all the hundreds of games we played over the years with strangers in a bar where you're just shooting and like, all right, cool.
Like the games we play, $1,000 a hole.
Yeah.
Big baller.
Have you ever played for money? I never have.
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did you win?
No.
Okay.
But I did not come back with a gun.
Right.
Thankfully.
That's the difference between you and this guy.
That's the difference between me and Guzman. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I can lose $20 and not get too pissed off.
I mean, I played hundreds of pool games over the years at different bars, but I've never played for money.
Well, culture of fear, I'm never going to play a pool game with strangers ever again.
No, yeah. That's shark territory.
So it was never determined what exactly set Guzman off, though he was later charged with first-degree murder and sentenced to prison. Since then, the Duchess has remained headline-free and has settled into more of a cherished neighborhood college bar where UW alumni come to watch Huskies games and cheer for the purple and gold. In fact, the walls here are covered with UW photos and Husky memorabilia. So it is evolved into more of a college sports bar more than anything else.
But neighborhood bar also.
Neighborhood. But for us, would you call it a sports bar? Because for me, when I think of sports bar, I think of more of like a modern, kind of sleek bar.
Like
with
the Bulldog.
Kind of like the Bulldog with a bunch of
50
big screen
TVs.
Yeah. You know, nice, black, sleek, modern furniture, professionally framed sports posters. That's what I think of a sports bar.
The nice thing about this place, though, is it's dripping with the history, right? So even even if you consider it sportsy or a sports bar, it doesn't have like the new sports bar flavor where it's like a bajillion big screen TVs all gleaming chrome and shit. It's like, no, this place has got some history. It's old. It's kind of grimy and grungy. It's super dive bar, thank God.
Yep.
And there's a shit ton of sports posters and sports memorabilia, which is pretty damn cool. Some of these old posters.
Some of the posters are amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Interesting to see, though. We've also got a lot of high school pictures. Which,
and Roosevelt High is right behind us.
Appear to be a bunch of high school kids at the bar. So
maybe that's when they lost their license.
Maybe that
was the serving minors, the Roosevelt High football team.
That number 27, when they lost their license or something. Yeah.
So that's pretty much the history of the Duchess, and perhaps the most popular feature here at the Duchess is its famous Beer Hunters Club, in which one must drink all of the bar's 40 beers in order to be considered for membership, which you, Jeremy, I understand are going to discuss in your segment right now. What you drinking?
Absolutely. So, we'll get into the Beer Hunters Club. There's a whole bunch of stuff to unpack there.
And Jeremy's got a little Keno card in front of him with the numbers 1 through 40.
I prefer to refer to it as a punch card.
Punch card.
Because it's kind of like gambling.
Yeah.
I don't know if I will be sober after I punch number 27. But we'll see.
Do the taps rotate, or is it any 40? Like, do they have the same 40 beers they've always had here?
That's the interesting part. So the cool thing about Beer Hunters Club is, like, there's lots of drinking clubs, right? There's like, especially in Seattle, you've got lots of these breweries, and they have what they call their mug clubs, right? You go in, you pay a certain whatever, and you get a mug. Sometimes you physically get a mug, sometimes it's a virtual mug or whatever, and they got like a rack where you hold your mug, and they put your name on it, and then you get like discounts on beers and all this kind of crap. And then there's also like places that have, drinking clubs, like kind of like Beer Hunter types. You drink so many beers, right?
Right.
I love how the Duchess simplifies it. It's a punch card. There's 40, and it's like it's not specified. Like, okay, number 3 is the Deschutes, blah blah blah. It's like no. It's like we got a bunch of beers in the cooler. You have to drink them all.
You
got a bunch of beers on tap. You got to drink them all.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just gonna come in with this clicker and punch your little card, or whatever. But if you look at, I think we're going to get into like what you got, because there's a pretty impressive selection of beers, both in the cooler, which is a good chunk of that 40 that you got to drink for the club, as well as a pretty extensive tap list, a good over 20 beers on tap. But let's start off with what you're drinking. So to my right, Bob, do you want to have any like kind of comments on the mouthfeel and the bouquet of the carbonated clear beverage that you're drinking?
I would say they did a pretty good job of getting all the bubbles in there.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a great
That's
seltzer.
not an easy thing to do either.
No. It's a proper seltzer.
Well packed. Well packed bubbles. Excellent. I myself, I've got a Sam Adams Winter Lager, which you guys know me. I'm not really a lager guy, but Sam Adams, kind of known for their lagers. I love winter beers. Mm-hmm. Sam Adams does a good winter lager, a little bit darker than a typical lager.
I was going to say it's a little darker than your typical lager.
Almost like pushing like brown ale kind of territory as a lager. So it's interesting. It's kind of spicy, like a good winter beer. So I'm liking it. But they have some other good winter beers on tap, and I think I'm going to have to go back and for secondsies or thirdsies.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Nice.
How about you, Lou? What you drinking, man?
I'm drinking since we're in a football bar and there's a Seahawks game on right above our heads, I'm drinking a Wildcat.
Wildcat?
Yeah, that's a play in football where you hike the ball right to the running back. You look like it's going to the quarterback. The center snaps it to the side, straight to the running back. It's by Snoqualmie Beering. It's an IPA. It's good.
Snoqualmie Brewery, Wildcat IPA.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It is. And
you had it before?
We should say this is a special episode of Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks, and that we are day drinking for the first time.
Oh,
we are day drinking.
That's true. That's true. I can actually see daylight outside, which is kind of disconcerting.
I'm not a typical day drinker. I usually don't day drink because if I drink a couple beers in the afternoon, I'm pretty useless the rest of the day. So I'm making an exception today.
We've already talked about this, Brad. You're psyching yourself out. You need to call it what me and Jeremy call it, which is drinking.
Yeah, just drinking.
Just drinking. Just get rid of the day part.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
But yeah, you're right. There's probably a nap in my future
Yeah.
today.
Right. So I'm not too adventurous. I'm just drinking Mac and Jacks. I was blabbing to the bartender about Ted Bundy, and I needed to make a quick choice, and give me some Mac and Jacks. But I think I'm going to try
Give
yours,
me whatever
Jeremy.
Ted drank.
Yeah, right?
Oh, what?
Now, it was funny when I was up there, I noticed...
I see what you did there.
Now, I noticed one of the tap handles. I don't know if you guys noticed this. One of the tap handles up there is just a Huskies, like a UW Huskies logo.
Yep.
No name of the beer. So I asked them about that, and apparently it's Miller Lite.
Oh, that makes
But they
sense.
call it their Huskies beer, so...
Oh,
Just so you
okay.
know, if you go up there and
Order a
the
Husky
Huskies
beer.
that's what you're getting.
Jock beer.
Jock beer, yeah.
Jockstrap beer.
Silver
Oh, isn't that
bullet.
Keystone? Isn't Keystone the...
I always think
considered
Coors
the prep
Light
beer?
was the
Coors Light,
was the
okay.
football team beer in
Okay.
my high school. Yeah, they all drink Coors Light.
Huh, I think we need a survey. We need some Husky survey.
What about you? What was your college beer?
Well, interesting. You said Miller Lite. I had read that historically the Husky beer here was Miller High Life. But you said the lights. I'm like, okay, was that a typo? Has it always been the light? Did they switch from the regular to the light? I really need to know the Husky beer history.
We'll have
I
to
think
ask the bartender about
we need
that,
like an episode 2 or 3 to kind of get
Yeah.
unpeel that onion.
Make this
Yeah,
into a
for sure.
trilogy.
For me, college beer was cheap. And what happened to go on sale quite often at the liquor store right around the corner from where I lived in Albuquerque was Miller Genuine Draft.
Ooh, MGD.
Good old
RIP.
MGD.
Ooh.
Yeah, MGD.
MGD, yeah.
Which I don't even know if they
No,
make
rest
anymore.
in peace. They've
Yeah,
discontinued that for
I don't think they
years.
make that shit anymore.
Yeah.
But it was great and cheap.
Nice.
What about you, Bob? What was your drink of choice back in your late adolescence, early 20s?
I would drink anything really. Schlitz Bull Ice reminds me of high school, and then
Wow.
And then as far as college goes, going to frat parties, they would just have like cases of Keystone Light, Keystone Ice,
Keystone. That's what I remember too.
I
yeah.
remember a lot of Keystones partying at the UW.
Yeah.
Mine was Miller Genuine Draft also.
Was it?
Yeah.
I did sip a lot of
It was,
MGD
it
when
was
I was
Budweiser
younger.
before that. And then when that came out, for some reason we thought that was a step up. We thought it was the fancier of the domestics.
Oh, see, for me, Michelob was when I stepped up. When I stepped up my game.
Fancy lad.
Yeah. The gold foil around the neck.
Yeah.
He's coming out to party.
Yeah,
Gold
exactly.
foil?
Yeah, remember the Michelob neck had this gold foil wrapped around it, like
Oh,
3
yeah, to
inches
peel
of
off
it.
the stupid label to get to the... Oh, that was so
Yeah.
fucking annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like now the hot thing with specialty beers is they dip them in the wax, right? You get like a bomber bottle.
You mean like Maker's Mark, that kind?
Yeah, that kind of shit. So, but yeah, you get the bombers of like these, specialty limited edition barrel age whatever, and it's got the wax crap that's all dipped on the top of the bottle, covering the cap. Annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
That's
Takes
just more work for you to get to
Oh my
the beer.
god, it takes like an hour to get that shit off of there just to get to the cap.
Hopefully you
like-
don't cut your hand into pieces
You're
trying
like,
to use a knife.
"Fuck,
Yeah.
I don't even want to drink it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I do, but quick interesting fact about what's on tap here at the Dutch. It's again actually over 20 taps, which is pretty unusual for a dive bar. Not so unusual for a Seattle bar. We talked about this in some previous episodes. The diviest of the dive bars in Seattle is still going to have a pretty kick-ass beer selection. Duchess, no exception, right? Over 20 beers on tap.
Yeah.
A couple of call-outs, though, that I thought was pretty interesting, because we talked about them in a couple of other episodes here. One of our favorites,
Manny's and Bodie's are on here, I'm sure.
Bodhisattva, right? Like we talked from Georgetown Brewery. Kind of a staple here in Seattle, but especially seems to be an interesting trend that a staple in dive bars is the Bodhisattva. This has been at least the third or fourth dive bar we've had Bodhi on tap, which is great. One of my favorites, right?
And I would argue to say it's on tap in all the dive bars because Bodhi, if you drink a couple, it's known to get you a little wasted. So
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's why
Yeah,
it's a
for sure.
High
popular
ABV.
choice.
Yeah.
It's like 7.5, something
popular
like that.
option,
Yeah,
yeah.
good shit. But we also have some other kind of higher class, arguably higher class beers on tap, which is a little unusual for a dive bar, and even a little unusual for kind of a neighborhood, or especially like a sports bar, if you want to call it that, right? One, Stella Artois, kind of high end. Stick your little pinky out when you drink, and it's Stella Artois.
Even just saying it, kind of just the way it rolls off the tongue.
Stella Artois.
Artois.
Yeah.
And it's basically a Budweiser beer too. It sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
it's-
Gunky, stinky.
It's watery. It's water beer.
With a fancy name.
Yeah.
And right on the other side of Bodhisattva on the handle list, there, Guinness Stout on draft, which is always a
Always
plus.
a good thing. Would you say the holy trinity of local beers that you just find that are ubiquitous everywhere are Manny's,
Bodie,
and Mac and Jack?
Mac and Jack.
Would
for
you
sure.
agree with
Very
that?
Super common. Although, I have to say, Mac and Jack's used to be like all over the damn place, but it's getting a little bit harder to find.
I think
agree
that's why
with
I picked
that.
it today. I noticed it
Yeah.
kind of grabbed my attention.
Yeah, not
Mac
quite.
and Jack's
Yeah.
used to definitely be in every bar because you couldn't get it in the store. And now I believe it's canned and you can get
Yeah.
an African Amber at the store.
Another one that I used to see all over the goddamn place, and you hardly see on tap anymore, Widmer Hefeweizen.
Ah,
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That used to be everywhere.
That used to be everywhere. You're
Hard to
right.
find now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Good call.
The Hefeweizen has kind of gone away altogether.
Was it like
was
early
almost like a
2000s,
novelty
late
in the
90s?
90s. Like, it's
90s
made
thing?
with wheat.
And you
And
pour
it's
lemon
unfiltered.
into it. Yeah, and you squeeze lemon into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good point. We've come around for some pretty epic trends that have kind of come and gone, but IPAs, especially like double IPAs, extra hoppy IPAs, seem to be a big swell that's kind of sticking around for a while. Seems to
Space
be-
Dust on tap here.
There you go. Kind of kicked out some of those some of the old timers like the Hefeweizens.
Do you know, I noticed though, one thing we don't see a lot of, which is kind of surprising,
Red
is,
Hook.
is the sours. Because I thought sours were pretty hot, and I would expect to see at least one of them on the different taps. But I don't think we've been to a place yet that
You
has.
got to go to the snooty hipster bars
I
to
think
get
the
those sours
dive,
on tap.
that's not our people now.
Yeah.
Not finding a lot of sours at the dive bars.
It's kind of surprising to me though, but maybe it shouldn't be.
I thought they had a big run a couple of years ago. And actually, I was a big fan of the sours because I like the taste. Some people think it tastes like socks, but it has a low ABV. It's a great summer beer at the barbecue. I highly recommend it.
I never climbed on board the sours.
Oh, really?
Though,
Oh,
but
I loved them.
Yeah.
Shout out to our friend Ryan. He's a sour beer guy.
Yeah.
Shout
When
out,
we go to
Ryan.
the festivals.
That's right.
And they're also like 3s and 4s, so you can drink
Drink all
20 of
day.
them and not be carted out.
Exactly.
That's right.
25.
Well, Lou, you actually both of you guys, Brandon, you're talking about kind of the decor and stuff. Why don't you give us a little more detail about where we're at?
Okay, we are at 55th and 29th. We're looking right at the street sign here, and this neighborhood is called U Village. That's what I call it. You're next to the university. You're a little farther from the Blue Moon and the Ave, which are a little more hard scrabble. U Village is not hard scrabble. U Village is an outdoor mall. It's a little higher end. You know,
Super snooty.
They
Yeah,
still
super
have
snooty. We've got a
some
Tesla
stuff-
dealership. We've got a Restoration Hardware, Apple Store. Yeah, this ain't no
It's
like
got a-
shitty urban outdoor mall.
Right.
Yeah, it's got a Crate and Barrel and a Pottery Barn and a Restoration Hardware.
Mamma mia.
And a Pottery Barn Kids. And it's also it's the mall that nobody told them there was a pandemic that's kicking retail's ass. Because I had to come down here a couple times during the pandemic, and you're like, and
Yeah, there's like a line to get in the parking
anytime
lot.
you come
Yeah.
to the Village, doesn't matter what time of day, what time of year, the parking lot is always packed. The parking was so bad there's 3 parking garages in there now. They keep adding more parking garages, and it's just full of Laurelhurst housewives and students.
But do you remember
So-
when it was kind of like a crappy little strip mall? It wasn't all that.
Yeah.
Like
Back
in the
day.
90s?
Yeah.
I think it had a grocery store and kind
Shitty
of
restaurants, nail
Yeah.
salon.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, that is not the case now. It's
Uh-uh.
booming.
Yeah,
You guys
they
ever-
booted all those businesses out.
yeah.
You can go downtown and see how retail has been decimated by the pandemic, but not at U
major.
Village. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys ever go to Atlas, a little restaurant they had there a few years ago? It was they had great happy hour. I remember going there. You get a beer for $2, a plate of mini cheeseburgers for $2, and a tip for $2. So for $6, you're fat and happy and drunk.
Yeah,
you can't do that
What
anymore.
replaced the Atlas was a joint that kind of tried to capitalize on that called Eureka.
Okay.
But what they did is they kind of spruced up the place a little bit and triple and quadrupled all the prices. And there you go.
There you go. There it is. Right on.
That's how you
Seattle
make upscale.
2022.
That was something I learned in my marketing classes in college. Was the price is not set by the accounting department, where it's not a guy saying, we need a 16% margin on this. It's set by the marketing departments. Like, we want to appeal to rich people, so charge $1,000 for it. Even doesn't matter if it costs $10 to make or $100 to make. So yeah. U Village, you slap a Pottery Barn Kids on it, and this kid's bed is $500 and not $200.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Lou, don't forget, we are like literally right next to a giant cemetery.
That's true.
So I think
Yep.
that contributes to our clientele, I'm sure.
Ooh.
And that they're all going to end up there one day. They keep coming in here, getting hammered.
40 beer.
When the zombie apocalypse happens, this is where they come get a drink.
Yeah, and we've talked before about how a surprising number of dive bars do not have pool tables nowadays, where it seemed like before it was mandatory that you have a pool table. And this seems like a great pool bar. There's one table down here. If you
And
go down
darts.
the stairs,
Yeah,
And-
the back area.
there's like
Yep.
3 tables down there. They've got a shuffleboard table,
Shuffleboard.
which is a ton of fun.
Pretty rare, but super fun.
And we got one table of 4 guys watching the Seahawks game here. It's kind of a lost year for the Seahawks. They're like, 4-12, and hoping to beat the shittiest team in the league, the Lions, today. So, yeah. Normally, when I heard we were recording here at 1 on the Seahawks game, I was like, oh, this place is going to be loud and rowdy, and people are going yelling every time we do something good.
Nope.
Not the case. This is a good year
not
to
for this game.
Not
for this season.
11, maybe.
But is that because this is just after New Year's and everyone's still kind of dealing with their hangovers from New Year's Eve, or is it because of the pandemic? Or is it
Or
both?
Seattle's fair weather
Yeah,
fans.
you're probably right. And we also didn't mention where we're at. We're in the snow.
Yeah,
in
we're in the
Seattle,
snow.
it never snows here. Well, it might snow once a year, but it's actually been snow on the ground for a full week now.
It
There's
just
snow
started
on
to
the
melt
gra-
today.
Just started to melt today, so people have been laying low.
That's true, yeah.
Seattle's also famous. What was that one snowfall we had in 2008? Where
Snowpocalypse?
it was one of the apocalypses where they found out there was 2 snowplows in the entire city of 1 million people. So
And one was broken.
this isn't like the East Coast where everybody with a pickup truck just throws a blade on the front.
That
There's
was-
plowing
yeah,
everywhere. It's
yeah.
like when it snows, it shuts down.
That wasn't also the one where the wonderful Mayor Greg Nichols of West Seattle used one of the 2 to plow from his driveway in Admiral District all the way down to the courthouse. That's actually why he didn't get elected. So shout out to Nichols for that move.
That's hilarious. I totally forgot about that.
I'd forgotten about that too.
That's a move. That's a power play.
yeah.
Mayor's privilege.
Sorry.
Where's
sorry,
that
Pete.
plow at? Well, it's up at the hospital. Well, get it over to my house in West Seattle.
I got to go downtown.
I got to go to U Village later.
Oh, I just kind of realized that some of these stories is probably not good for Seattle tourism. We're talking about basically like you can't throw a stick without hitting someplace that somebody was murdered or some
Crooked
notorious
politicians.
happening in this crazy city. But the reality is it's just perfectly safe. Perfectly safe. Wonderful. Bring your kids.
Except for the serial killer part. I was just watching
that was
Anthony
months ago.
Bourdain episode where he came to Seattle, and they spent quite a bit of time trying to investigate the whole serial killer thing. Like, why does this
Green
region have
River
so
and
many
Ted
serial
Bundy
killers?
and-
Yeah.
I actually, when he was in town, I got drunk with Bourdain at Shorty's down in Belltown.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got to wave at him. I don't think he saw me, but I waved at him and had a beer. And yeah, he was just holding court down there. That was a huge thing.
Nice.
That was a big thing. Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Tony.
Nice.
Yeah.
Shorty's another bar that is on the short list.
Well, which is moved,
Which
still
is moved. It's
but
no longer a
still
dive
exists.
bar,
Still
but
exists.
Yep.
but it's
Yeah.
still
That
history.
whole
It's
I
bar.
think we might
awesome.
have to hit it.
And we know the
We
owner,
are.
so-
We're definitely going to
Yeah, we'll have to hit that. We'll go with the recent history and then the ancient history.
There you go.
Yeah.
Plenty of that to unpack.
Oh, yeah. Pioneer Square, there's a lot of that, so. Which we haven't even cracked yet, but
Stay tuned for episodes 13 and 27.
that's right.
I still like my idea of me and Brad were in Cowgirls Inc.
Oh yeah,
Which
great one.
It's not a dive bar, obviously.
Love that place, though.
It was a marketing concept from the early 2000s, but when you
Yeah.
go in there now, kind of shitty.
Yeah, it's.
They haven't done anything to it. They haven't cleaned it.
They don't have the coyote ugly
Have you,
girls dancing on the bar.
Have you
They
hit?
got the bowl there, though.
Yeah, they do have the.
bowl.
Yeah, they do have the.
Have you
mechanical
hit
bowl.
like an old Hard Rock Cafe lately?
Ugh.
There's one downtown. I haven't been in it in years.
If you go to some of the older ones that have been around for a while, you'll probably experience that same thing. You walk in like, wow.
No one's dusted or...
Wow, yeah.
Kind of a novelty bar that's
It's super worn off.
fad's over.
Well,
The novelty is worn long off.
GameWorks just closed. I think
shit.
like maybe in the last few days.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I read that.
Yeah.
It's a great place to go drink.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Hard Rock Cafe. It was one of those bars. They all opened in kind of the 90s.
Or like whatever happened to Bruce Willis's.
Tell our listeners, what is GameWorks?
GameWorks, for you youngsters out there, was an arcade. So there used to be a time where you'd have to go.
Brad, what's an arcade?
Well, so there was a time where you'd have to go and actually plug quarters in to play video games.
Oh, and see people face to face?
But GameWorks was more of like, at the time, it was considered kind of a high-tech arcade,
Yeah,
right?
you
It was
couldn't
like
even
next
put in
level
the
arcade
quarters.
games.
You would buy a card.
Yes.
You'd buy
like
a card.
credit card, and
Yeah,
they put
yeah.
money on it, and you swipe it.
Well,
Yeah.
that was high tech. They replaced the quarters with the card.
Yeah.
And they had
very high-tech.
different games where you could sit in and put like almost like a roller coaster. You put a deal over your chest and it goes up and down, and you can shoot at the tower
Yeah.
and kill
Motion
people.
games and
Yeah,
stuff.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
They had some fun
And
games there.
lots of children's gambling.
Well, I was going to say, I think 90% of their income came from kids' birthday parties, right?
Yeah.
That was like
We
kind
had
of the
one of
destination.
the twins' birthday party
Did
there
you?
one
Yeah.
year.
There
Oh,
you
yeah.
go.
I
And
went
you're
to
right,
it.
Jeremy. They were they have like Chuck E. Cheese style
Yeah.
gambling games, and that's where they were just plugging
Raking
that
in the dough.
card
Tickets?
in. Yeah.
And that is
Tickets,
gambling. Make no
spitting out
mistake
the like
about it.
700 tickets.
You
Yeah.
can spend $20 worth of quarters to get like a
To get a
10
giant
cent,
pencil.
Yeah. So worth it.
just like pull tabs. I mean, they're learning
Yeah.
Just like punch cards.
Yeah.
just like the punch board. You mean? So yeah, while we're talking about where we're at, let's talk about the jukebox for a second. We always like to talk about.
Well, this is a good segue into your segment.
Uncle Lou, what's a jukebox?
Yeah, they used to have them where you put quarters in them, and now they're hooked up to the internet. So Brad got my hopes up and said there was going to be a Wurlitzer jukebox here.
Yeah.
Look it up
Yeah.
online. It's true, they did used to have one in like
Yeah.
2008. There was a local dealer in town who rented these antique Wurlitzers out to bars, and they had one here. But what we got now is a Touch Tunes jukebox. Go on the app on your
Wurlitzer
internet.
2.0.
But what's really cool is that you can go on this and see what they listen to, what are the popular songs, popular bands. So we've all soaked it up here. Brad, what do you think is? What do you think the
gosh.
kids and the regulars?
Well,
are
this is a
listening to?
college bar, and this is probably dating myself because this is what I picture a lot of college kids listening to. But I'm picturing like, I don't know, Dave Matthews. Am I like about 20 years
Yeah,
past?
Wow.
Okay,
yeah,
all
You're
okay.
thinking like a rapper with a Lil in front, or Olivia Rodrigo, or
Yeah, this isn't a women's college here, man.
It's going to be.
Dave Matthews is in a women's college.
I bet
It
you're
wasn't
going
like
to see
Lilith Bar.
Bob. What do you got?
Megan the Stallion or Cardi B.
See,
I bet are up
those
there.
are good guesses for contemporary music.
And, maybe for nostalgia stakes, some Green Day.
Well, here's the hot songs, and number one is it's the old school regulars, Leonard Skinner. Ooh,
Okay.
that smell.
Okay.
All right.
That's a
And
dive
then,
bar
next
song.
I got-
Good dive bar
Yeah.
song.
You got some Beck, Beer Can.
So,
Another good
so my
dive bar
Dave
song.
Matthews was not too out of place
No.
here,
Yeah.
actually.
That's right. There's also someone that comes here that's a golden age of hip hop fan. So there's like Tribe Called Quest. There's
Nice.
Jurassic 5.
Nice.
There's Gorillaz. We've got The Rapture, House of Jealous Lovers, little 2000 stuff. And then more country. You've got The Highwaymen, Johnny Cash. And then
That's more old school country, though.
Yeah, someone here likes Outkast. Someone here likes Atmosphere, Jeremy's favorite Christian rap band.
Absolutely.
Did you ever
Slug
get
and
tickets
Idea?
to go to that show?
Yes.
How'd they do?
Horrible.
Slug and Idea.
That's a whole other episode.
Okay.
Oh my God, that was painful show.
I'm not familiar with their music. Is it Christian? Is it like Christian rock?
Well, it sounds like conscious hip hop.
Slug.
Oh, it's
But,
hip hop.
but if you listen closely, it's, yeah.
He's,
So are they like the Striper of rap music? Is that kind of
Yes.
okay?
Atmosphere.
Why did you go to that?
I did not know.
And then if I look at recent plays, Bob, you're right on point. It's Post Malone, Doja Cat,
Doja Cat? Yeah.
Dua Lipa,
Yeah, all that.
yeah, Drew Down.
Oh, Drew Down's old school West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Drew
then we
down.
got some 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Brad's playlist: Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, Faith No More, Sublime, Incubus.
All right.
I thought you had
Yeah.
Sublime.
You guys-
at the
you
end.
guys
no
mocked
Dave
me.
Matthews? What? No.
Well, you
no
guys
Dave
mocked me
Matthews?
for the Dave Matthews reference, but actually, it wasn't too far off.
Yeah, no, I'm looking hard to see if someone give Dave some love, but no, I'm afraid not. Lots of outcasts.
I do not
Well.
think the Red Hot Chili Peppers would prefer to be associated with Dave Matthews. I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Same decade, you know.
Oh, and this song,
Both still touring.
King
Both
Harvest,
still
Dancing
touring.
in the Moonlight.
Well, and Dave Matthews is a Seattle homeboy, or he lives here.
That's right.
Last I heard.
Jeremy, you'd go to the Gorge every year to see him, wouldn't you?
He does maintain a home here.
shut your
He has a home in Wallingford.
Lou and I actually saw Dave Matthews back in the day. When,
At
was
the
that
Gorge?
in the 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, it was right
when
before
was
I
that?
moved to San Francisco, so
they
it
were
was like
admitting it
98,
on
99.
air.
Yeah. So there you go, man. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
It was a wing ding, too. We were all kind of looking at our watches at one point.
a lot of like 20-minute guitar noodling. Yeah, there's a lot
When's
of
the
that.
next band come on?
Or like that, like the color instruments, they've got the fiddle and the alto sax.
Yeah.
And alto sax guys solos stray dangerously close to Kenny G territory. It's almost like
Yeah.
Ooh.
pretty adult contemporary. Even though they got put in an alternative kind of category because that's
right.
where they stuck anyone who didn't fit.
All right. We do need to pause another round, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. We're
Okay.
back with round two. I just a quick comment. What I got for my second beer. Hey, Jeremy, what you drinking? Not Pyramid. Widmer Hefeweizen. Here we were just talking about it. I did not realize of all the 20 taps, one of those was Widmer Hefeweizen, and voila, got
The
myself
Hefes
here.
here.
Widmer
Old
Hefeweizen.
school.
Yeah. Not too popular in dive bar tap lore, so take advantage of it when I can.
And I noticed
And
you
we
didn't
do need
get
to make
your,
a correction, I understand. So I was saying that the Husky beer tap was Miller Lite. It's actually Miller High Life, right? Is that what you found out?
It's not any light crap. No.
It's
the High Life.
It's the High Life.
That's right. High Life.
the real
Always has
deal.
been, always will be.
Champagne
Yeah.
of beers.
And
The
in fact,
champagne of beer. So
beer.
just wanted to make sure and make that
I
correction.
could be wrong, but I think the owner is sitting at the bar and corrected me when I said it was Miller Lite. He's like, no, High Life.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'll have to come back and confirm.
You got up there and got in his face, and you were like, "What's that shit? What are you serving, Miller High Light?"
And he punched me and said, it's
Like
Miller High
beer?
Life, you asshole. Get the hell out of my bar.
While we're talking about music, we also see on here that some of the kids are listening to Get Back, which is probably in their heads now because the Rosetta Stone, the lost ark of music, just dropped in December, right?
Rosetta Stone?
Is that the word?
Get Back. Is that an Outcast song?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
okay, yeah.
8 hours of hanging out with the Beatles, watching them make an album.
Ah, the documentary Get Back.
Yeah.
Yes,
Did
you
on
guys watch that
Disney,
in
right?
Yeah,
Is that
it's
on
on
Disney?
Disney.
It was
Because
on
Disney
Disney.
basically bought like lock, stock, and barrel
Well,
of
they
everything.
pretty much
Beatles.
own everything at
Yeah,
this point.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. We can't even say Beatles on
Yeah.
there.
They probably own this bar.
But yeah, it's so awesome. Like you're thinking, like, God, I would love to see this for so many albums. Just 8 hours of them
That
making
show was a marathon.
That was a marathon. Did
was
you
a
guys watch it in
marathon.
one stretch? Because I had to do it
No.
in pieces.
Yeah.
it.
You gotta
Yeah,
pace
I did it
yourself.
in like 6.
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
how
I
I
do like
did
an
it,
hour,
too.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
That's a shit ton of content of those guys just sitting around.
Yeah.
Here's take 10 of Get Back.
Oh my God. It's fascinating to see them crafting music. That to me, that was the value of that show.
Yeah.
Is that, like them, like actually coming up with songs together, like you're seeing it happen in real time almost, right? That was very, very cool.
Yeah.
On the other hand, them just like bullshitting back and
Noodling
forth
and
and
bullshitting.
arguing about like who should be lead for blah 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 was like, oh my God, I don't need another 14 hours of this.
There could have been some editing, in my opinion. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was all gold. I'm just such
You
a
liked
huge
it?
Beatles fan.
Yeah.
I want to see the 18-hour extended documentary that he's talking about.
Now,
You want to see the stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor there?
Which
I think there's
what
a
do you think
lot of
might be in there, Jeremy. You had
Well,
an interesting observation.
That's the kind of, to me, that was the kind of cool thing about that documentary is there's a lot of content, right? And you're just seeing lots and lots of stuff, and it feels like it's like just a live recording of them, and it's just like raw, and it's like, oh, it's just like set up a camera and record these guys doing their thing for 14 hours or whatever. But it's not. It's very carefully edited, and you can tell if you pay really, really close attention, they cut a lot of shit out.
And we know they were all like major into drugs at that time.
Oh,
you didn't
my
see
God.
anybody smoking marijuana. You didn't see.
They were
Well,
very,
John
very
would have been
careful.
doing his heroin in the bathroom or something. So you're not going to
Was
see
he doing
that.
heroin at that time? I thought that was
Yes.
later.
No, and some of those stories that came out, afterwards were like,
Yep.
oh, Lennon was just out of it during the Let It Be sessions. That's why it's all McCartney songs.
He didn't
was
seem
just-
too out of it, though. He
No,
seemed pretty...
but did you notice in week 1 he wore the same clothes every single day?
Was that when he was wearing the fur coat?
No, he had on a purple T-shirt and a black vest,
Oh, okay.
and the fur coat. You
Yoko
could
was
see,
dressed
like,
pretty nice, but
Each day the hair got more and more stringier.
Yeah.
You could see he hadn't showered in a week, and he was a little not as engaged. And then in week 2, I think he cleaned up a little bit.
Cleaned up a little bit.
Took a shower, and he was way more lively in the second week.
And was it just me, or did Paul come across, especially in like the first part, it's kind of an asshole. Like he was kind of a tyrant.
he reminded me of Lars Ulrich,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do know. That's a good comparison, actually. Yeah. Now,
Well,
it
in a
seemed like
very
he mellowed
English-
out.
in an English way.
In an English way, in a
yeah.
very polite
Very
English way.
very
That's
not
right.
at
That's right.
you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always been more of a Paul fan than John. When it comes to the Beatles, I always thought I kind of liked his songs more. But after watching this, I was like, he was kind of an asshole. At least
I saw it differently. That was the myth afterwards, that like, oh, everyone's just so sick of Paul who's taken over the band. But when you saw it, Paul was on a roll, and he had all these songs. John had 2 songs.
That's true.
He had Across the Universe and, what was it? Don't Let Me Down.
Yeah.
And there was that one part where he's like, hey, you got any more songs? And he's like looking up going, no, I don't have any more songs. And so Paul, I think, had to carry the load. And there was that one point where he goes, it's been this way for the last 2 records. I don't want to be the manager. I want you guys to step up. But then George is trying to step up, and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, your shitty songs aren't going to see the light of day.
But his songs were
Like,
awesome.
fuck you guys.
Like, what was the song he did? I, Me, Mine? Was that the name of it? And I love that song. Like,
Yeah.
that was...
And he brought in
An
All
amazing
Things
song.
Must Pass.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that
Paul,
too.
remember there was that one part before the concert where they were like, okay, let's see the list of songs we got. And he's pretending to not even know the name. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, we got Come Together, Let It Be, Dig a Pony, that one, Happiness. And Lennon's like, whoa, Happiness. Did you guys do a song without me? And George's like, no, it's All Things Must Pass. Like, yeah, whatever. That's not going to see the light of day.
Was that the part where he just basically stood up and said, all right, I'm out of the band, and just walked out?
Yeah, no, that was before that. But yeah, it ended up being the title track of his
Yeah.
solo
Yeah,
album,
they
which is why they're
really
regarded to be the
glossed
best.
over the whole Yoko Ono kind of wedge conflict. They really glossed over that, and I think that really shows up in the editing too. I'm sure there was lots of shit and discussions and stuff going on with Yoko that they just stripped all that shit out.
Yeah, the word is that like she broke up the band because she was so nosy, but all I saw was she was like bored as hell. I don't
Super
think she
chill,
wanted to
yeah,
be
super
there.
chill, and that could be the fact of the matter too. But like I said, I think the stuff was carefully and strategically edited out to not make people look bad.
Well, but they did include her singing, so I don't know if they quite edited like you said.
Oh God, yes. Oh, that was gold. That was gold.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was mostly George that just didn't want her there. And remember, there was that when he first left the band, they said they all go to his house and they had a meeting. And
Yep,
it says
it did not go well.
And if
That's an understatement.
if Derek Taylor's to believed, who was their publicity manager, afterwards, that first meeting was mostly that. It was George saying, Yoko needs to get the fuck out. And John was saying, I want her there. And Paul saying, yeah, if John wants her there, who cares? Who cares?
Well, as 3 Beatles fans, it was a cool series to watch, and yeah, it was kind of a cool way to end the year.
Yeah, so we want to knock this on the head?
Let's knock this on the head. So, all right, gentlemen, Happy New Year to you guys, to many more episodes. We got some great episodes upcoming in the planning stages right now. We look forward to recording more.
Where are we going to be at this Thursday?
This Thursday, so our next recording is going to be at the Eastlake Zoo, which we're really looking forward to. And then we've got some
Classic
choice
time.
places too lined up. So
Yeah, we
stay
just
tuned.
Want to give a shout out to everyone listening. Thanks for everyone listening and signing up to Instagram and following us on social.
All right, you guys, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
All right, Happy New Year.
Thanks, everybody.
Adios.